Hey everybody, Jimmy Smith. Time for another UFC card breakdown. Trying to make you some money with my bets and picks and all that fun stuff. Thanks for letting me know about the audio issues. I got to take a look at my equipment, make sure everything's good. If there are any problems with this one, please let me know and I will adjust accordingly. I appreciate the feedback though. So we're looking at this card. It's UFC on ABC6. There have been some changes to the main card. So I'm going off what I'm assuming is the final main card. Different sources have it a little differently. SureDog has the Naimov Lima fight on the main card. The UFC's website has Jared Gordon versus Nasrat Hakkaras. So I'm going to start with the Jared Gordon Nasrat Hakkaras fight, assuming that's the start of the main card. Nasrat Hakkaras versus Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon 20-6. Nasrat Hakkaras 16-5. Everybody knows these guys. Right, they're well traveled. They are solid mid-level guys in the lightweight division. Jared Gordon has been on the bad side of some bad luck recently. Most notably, Paddy Pimblett. I think anyone with eyes saw that he won that fight. Didn't get the decision. Then Bobby Green, clash of heads led to a KO, TKO. The problem with that fight is it can say no contest on the ledger for sure, which it now does. You still got hit, probably concussed by the headbutt / finish, and then they had him booked for a fight, and then they had to pull him out because he was too close to the concussion, and it was just bad. And so, yeah, it's a no contest. You got to deal with the physical repercussions of that. Now, beat Marco Madsen his last time out in the first round, so he looked good. He's recovered well, which is why I find the betting odds, I'm looking at DraftKings right now, for Nasrat Hakkaras, Jared Gordon. Nasrat Hakkaras minus 238, almost a 2.5 to 1 favorite. Hakkaras is very, very good on a 3-fight streak right now. Very well-rounded, stocky, really strong for the weight class, powerful striker, but I don't see him as a 2.5 to 1 favorite over Jared Gordon, who, once again, without the bad decision to Paddy Pimblett, he hasn't lost since the Grant Dawson fight, really. So without that bad decision, he's on a great streak, doing great things. Of course, the no contest because of the headbutt. So without the bad luck, he's on a 4-fight streak and looking really good. So I don't think that warrants a minus 2.5 spread for Nasrat Hakkaras. I would give Nasrat Hakkaras a slight edge, but for the betting money, gotta go with Jared Gordon in what is on paper a big upset. I don't think it'd be that big an upset. I think Hakkaras is slightly better, but not minus 2.5. So to me, the bet is certainly Jared Gordon in this fight. Next one up. God, I don't want to touch this one, but I have to for you guys. Johnny Walker, Volkan Oezir. Why? Anytime Johnny Walker's in a fight, he's just as likely to completely self-destruct as he is to give you one of those great performances and get a knockout. Volkan Oezir, I called this fight in Bellator years ago, and a solid guy. He got the nickname No Time when he had a few quick finishes in a row that got him a shot against DC. DC handled him pretty easily, but what he did is he developed a reputation against Misha Serkinov and Jimmy Manuwa for being a quick finish guy. Since then, he really hasn't been a quick finish guy. He hasn't. He tends to win either, Ilir Latifi was late in the second round, won a decision over Alexander Rakic, Paul Craig. He generally doesn't get it done that quickly. Now, he kind of went back to form in his last win, but when you look at his record, step-up fighters beat him. Yuri Prochazka, Magomed Ankalaev, Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith, of course, Daniel Cormier, Nikita Krylov last time out. Those guys above the mid-level beat him. Do you put Johnny Walker in that class? That's the problem with touching this at all. And by the way, when I was looking at it, I said, okay, if the odds are really skewed one way or the other, that'll really help me. Nope, it's a coin flip fight. DraftKings has the odds, pretty much a coin flip. Do you bet essentially on the self-destruction of Johnny Walker, making bad decisions and doing the wrong thing at the wrong time has cost him against a lot of fighters? But he also can have that amazing knockout because he's really tall and lanky and powerful and hard to read. My bet is that No Time Oezir fights the way that he kind of has in recent fights other than his last one, which is goes decision, fights pretty smart, uses his whole toolkit. When you do that, you can beat Johnny Walker. So I'm betting more that Johnny Walker kind of messes up and doesn't look great, and also that Volkan Oezir doesn't go in there and try to be No Time and finish him quickly. We can run into something big and get cracked. I would rather go with Volkan Oezir, given the fact that the odds are almost exactly identical. So I got to go with Volkan Oezdemir, probably by decision over Johnny Walker. Another fight, Jesus, where I really don't have faith in either guy. Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. This one, to me, is definitely colored by the odds. Why? Kelvin Gastelum, minus 230 on DraftKings over Daniel Rodriguez. That's kind of nuts, considering Kelvin Gastelum, and he said it. He goes, this is almost like an old school wrestling loser leaves town kind of fight, where the loser of this fight might be out of the UFC, period. Might not have a career. That's going to suck. But Kelvin Gastelum, obviously a contender for years and years and years, a guy who was kind of right there, never really got over the top, either at 170 or 185. When you look at his record back to the Chris Weidman loss, 2017, the most significant win, Michael Bisping, Jacare, those were big. I called the fight against Jacare, and Jacare just suddenly ran out of gas at the end of round number 1. That cost him that fight. Of course, he had too much power for Michael Bisping, but lost to Israel Adesanya, lost to Darren Till, lost to Jacker Manson, beats Ian Heinisch, loses to Robert Whittaker, loses to Jerry Cannonier, beats Chris Curtis, loses to Sean Brady. Once again, just like I said about Johnny Walker, those next level guys beat him. Right? The contenders beat Kelvin Gastelum. Do you put Rodriguez in that category? No, I don't. But is it minus 230, 240 to bet on Kelvin Gastelum? No, I don't think it is. Kelvin is one of those guys, I think, even though he's not that old, he's only 32 years old, he's been through a lot. Been through some very, very tough fights. It starts wearing on you. I would say he's the favorite in this fight, but not by 2.5. Daniel Rodriguez has lost his last 2 to Neil Magny and Ian Machado Gary. I don't think he's anything special. Skill set isn't great. He's kind of a brawler. Doesn't have a ton of one-shot power. Normally, I would say I would give the slight edge to Kelvin Gastelum, but when I look at the odds at minus 230, that isn't worth a bet right now on DraftKings. The over-under 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 260. Under 2.5 is plus 195. I think the smartest bet on this one is the under 2.5. Remember, it's only a 3-round fight, so basically anytime there's a knockout before round number 3, middle of round number 3, got a good shot at this one. So I think definitely the under on this one, it makes the most sense. If you're going to bet on somebody, I would go with the upset with Daniel Rodriguez. I don't have a ton of faith in him, but at minus 2.5, there's no way you can go with Kelvin Gastelum at this stage in his career. Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov. Sergey Pavlovich, once again, minus 238. I don't know why they love that number so much at DraftKings, but minus 238 over Alexander Volkov. Alexander Volkov plus 195. Yeah, Sergey Pavlovich probably wins this one. Alexander Volkov, I've called a bunch of his fights, used to be a champ in Bellator. Really, really tall, deceptively powerful for a guy with his build. Can knock you out. Problem is that style he has is he's rangy. He's kind of has an awkward, tall build. He's off balance a lot because he's so tall and throwing all these kind of, often has to be loopy punches. A lot of times he's kind of awkward and kind of off balance. Pavlovich comes forward like a tank, hits like he stole something from it, and he's always on balance. He's always very, very solid. One of the things about Volkov is you can catch him mid-combination. Not only can you hurt him, you can take him off his feet. Once you put him on his butt, he's in big trouble, especially against a guy with the size of Pavlovich. So I would go with Pavlovich in this fight. You won't make a lot of money at minus 238. Under 1.5 is minus 154. Over is plus 120. I think the over is a decent bet. Both these guys are veterans. They're experienced. Yes, Pavlovich has real power. He can end a fight very, very quickly. So can Alexander Volkov, catch you with the right shot, especially at distance. But let's say both these guys are veterans. They've taken on really good heavyweights. They've learned a lot in that time. So guys like that can be hard to finish. Even in a one-sided fight, the idea that somebody doesn't hold on past a round and a half for plus 120 money, I'd go with that. I would go with the over 1.5 at plus 120. You got to take Sergey Pavlovich. I don't think Alexander Volkov is a very good bet, even at plus 195. Robert Whittaker, Ikram Aliskerov. Robert Whittaker, only a minus 155 favorite. I thought we'd get a lot more, considering it's a late notice fight. Not that I don't have faith in Aliskerov. I think he's a very, very good fighter. One of the things we're going to see over the next few UFCs, and a lot of people are saying, oh, the card without Conor McGregor, is actually better without Conor McGregor. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you're getting a lot of late notice fighters, and you just don't get the best out of a fighter late notice. So one of the problems is a matchup can be on paper really, really good. Oh man, I really like the Yuri Prochazka Alex Pereira fight. That's great. Short notice, they don't have full camps. You're not going to get the best version of those guys. in this fight. That's going to be a theme for the next couple UFCs. This is one of them too, where obviously a late notice substitution for Aliskerov. And will he bring everything he can bring against Robert Whittaker, who, if nothing else, is going to test your gas. He's going to test your willingness to fight. He's going to test your technique. Reminds me a lot, for the old school fans, of Rich Franklin, who was just really solid. And in a similar way, Whittaker's just one below the champ, right? He was below Israel Adesanya, obviously lost to Drake Duplessis, the current champion. He's just one below that guy, much like Rich Franklin was. But he's just solid and well-rounded and tough, and it's hard to get past him. And similar kind of thing, where unless you are really ready to go and have knockout power, you're going to have trouble with Robert Whittaker, and especially on late notice where Robert Whittaker is going to test your gas tank, probably not going to do anything stupid, and drag you into deep water and drown you. That's what he's good at. And against a late notice opponent, he's uniquely positioned to do that. So I would definitely go with the odds I'm seeing right now, which is minus 155, which isn't a huge favorite. I would go with Robert Whittaker. The over, by the way, is minus 166, over 2.5. I think that's a great bet as well. This is almost certainly going to go over unless Aliskerov is able to find the button on Whittaker. If Whittaker wins, he tends to win by decision. He's not the hardest puncher in the world, just puts pressure on you and kind of wears you down. So I definitely think the over, even at minus 166, is a good bet. So there you go. That's what I think. Leaving for Dublin today, calling Bellator on Saturday. So check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really enjoy doing color again. Check it out on HBO Max, man. I'll be in Dublin calling Bellator. Enjoy this weekend. I'll see you on Monday.